Yesterday was incredible. There really was set off in such a beautiful way. So we're really excited about day two to build on that. All of these presentations that we're putting together for the hip hop education community are going to be crucial to developing this field of hip hop education. Oh, look who I have in the background. It's for the kids. Just a little bit of a background about how this all came about. This has been over probably 20 years in the making. Well, more than that, but on an official capacity within this network, I can say that for me in my journey, I started off as a youth who was very passionate about the hip hop arts. I loved writing rhymes. That's what kept me engaged in school since I was in fifth grade. And, I carried that with me through high school into college. And when I was in college, I joined a new student organization called Hip Hop Congress. It was brand new. I was looking for a tribe, so to speak, of like minded individuals who were passionate about hip hop culture. And that was my first real hip hop family and network. The mission of Hip Hop Congress was such that it allowed different chapters to just start popping up virally. And this was right in the early 2000s, the beginning of social media and everything. And we were able to network on a grassroots level through social media, but then also through these national conferences that we would have a different chapter host every summer. And we did 9 of them in a row. And on the third one, which was in St. Louis, Missouri, our theme of the conference was hip hop and education. And we had Martha Diaz as our keynote speaker, who was starting that work. And she really turned on a lot of us to this idea of if we're artists and we're passionate about what we do, we don't just have to think of ourselves as entertainers, but we can also, when we are essentially through our artwork educating the next generation coming up. So why not intentionally develop that aspect of our creativity? And so a lot of us left that conference, went back into our own communities and started doing just that. I teamed up with the founder of Hip Hop Congress, Shamako Noble, and we wrote a MC curriculum, no educational degree or anything like that, just artists trying to put our minds together, be like, how do we teach these skills that we've developed through just our interaction with the culture? And a lot of people started doing sort of that same thing. So fast forward 15 plus years later, I now have Rap Force Academy. That's been my company that I've, instead of, working for somebody else, it's like entrepreneurialism in a way that it's allowed me to be not just an artist, but a teacher, a teaching artist, and not have to sell out my message or my social justice beliefs or mission to be an entertainer, to make it in the entertainment industry. So it really did open up another lane for me. And then just the networking. So through the artist network, I meet an MC who actually I used to grow up looking up to as an artist, MC Radioactive, incredible beatboxer. He was close friends with a woman named Allison Frenzel. I had met her, and then she got hired at the California Department of Education. And when she heard about all of the work that we have been doing over the years, she was like, we need to formalize this through the Department of Education. And so through her connections, she's been able to do that. The spark happened when I was able to introduce Martha Diaz with Allison. Also, kind of serendipitously, but making sense to the whole process, another individual who had been pioneering in hip hop and education, who I actually met when I was still in college, Sebastian Elkaby, we reconnected with him, and he had been teaching hip hop for like 10 years in a high school, and he's CTE credentialed. So he was like the living proof that you could teach hip hop with this credential. And so the four of us came together and were like, how can we formalize this with our collective networks and all the people that we know? We had our first meeting in Los Angeles, then and then our next meeting at the Department of Education in Sacramento, and that was in March of 2020. And then of course COVID hits, and everybody's got to go back to the drawing board, figure out, pivot how we're going to do this. But we did still keep moving forward. And this Summer Institute is the first time that we're reconvening to update everybody on the progress that we were able to make, and then also bring people out to present and update us on the progress that they've been making and their positioning within this broad field of what we're calling hip hop education, what we're trying to develop the right way through the communities for the youth. supported by the infrastructure in our education system. So California gets to jump it off, and the vision is to capacity build throughout the country, all over the world. So with that being said, this is amazing that everybody's here today. Like I said, this is all being recorded for archiving documentation purposes. So we'll all be able to reference back on these presentations. And I think off of yesterday, I think it's going to be necessary that we all do our homework and catch up on all of the amazing presentations that have happened and that are going to happen today. So with that being said, yo, Martha.
What up? Thank you, Rahman. How are you? How's everyone doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome to day 2. Yesterday was amazing. And it was amazing because the presenters just really illustrated the amazing work that is being done in schools, in after school programs, in the community. And yes, like Rahman said, we've been doing this for 2 decades longer, because since day one, hip hop, it has been about education, each one teach one. But formalizing it began 20 years ago, probably longer, because I remember as a teacher, I was already disrupting in middle school and high schools that I was teaching in Harlem, in New York, in the Bronx in the 90s. And actually, later on today, you're going to hear from someone who started the first hip hop class in the country, in the world. It was a dance class, and he's going to tell you all about it. Zulu Grams, I can't wait to introduce you later. That was in the early 80s. In the early 80s, okay, y'all? And we know that there have been papers around hip hop education beginning in 1982, which was also a graffiti thesis. And then there was 1987 with Dr. Thandi Hicks Harper at Howard University, talking about hip hop as a educational tool and community development. Davy D also had his thesis, and his primary sources were the pioneers themselves, because nobody had written about them yet. So we are revolutionizing education with the work that we're doing. And so, like yesterday, you're going to hear from practitioners who are revolutionary. And this opening keynote speaker is one of my favorites, because he has been through it, and he has been a public servant. He has turned around schools. He is loved by his students, his teachers, and he'll tell you more. But we have to support each other, because there are schools that don't understand the work that we do. And of course, you've heard people get fired, teachers getting fired for bringing hip hop in the classroom. But we're going to change that. And Principal Benjamin Nakumara is is leading the way. So please welcome Ben Nakumara.